69, about average for this time of the year. Gainesville 77. Milwaukee Brewers in town to take on the Braves, and a great time at the ballpark. Weather will be fine and dandy.
No, but we do know that house prices in Atlanta have been rapidly rising.
Weather, we're coming to you from downtown Fort Lauderdale. It is bright, crisp and beautiful across South Florida today.
Miami's condo market, it went from boom to bust, and now it is booming again.
Now our temperatures are going to begin to warm up for the end of the work week. 79 Charlotte, 79 Statesville, 82 in Gastonia on Friday afternoon.
Tonight at 5:30, Charlotte is one of the hottest housing markets for 2018.
Dying to wear that ugly Christmas sweater. You may have to wait until next year with temperatures staying in the 80s around the Bay Area. Today, people packed Clearwater Beach to enjoy their holiday with a little fun in the sun.
Yes, 150 even to 400. It's very hot. We're seeing, so from 150 to 200, we're up 15% in sales over last year.
After some pretty nice weather over the last couple of days, well, we're bringing in more clouds and eventually the threat for a few showers to sneak on in as well.
Yeah, so you're starting to hear things from national news outlets like the Wall Street Journal coming out and saying, okay, things are starting to soften a little bit.
The rain starts tonight, but it really ramps up by the morning hours. Notice the near 100% chance of rain. You don't see me put that in the forecast very often.
You know, typically recessions come in 7 to 12 year periods, and we're at about the 10-year mark. So we're due in the next few years. You know, hopefully we won't see any kind of crash, but
the National Weather Service describes it as, quote, the storm of a lifetime.
This is a bigger bubble than the one that blew up in 2008. And the crisis that is going to ensue is going to be far larger.
Three key takeaways. First, the weather outside is unpredictable, and so is the weather in the housing market. The second takeaway, while the weather and the housing market are unpredictable, they both share one thing in common. They both experience seasons. And finally, while we can't control the weather outside or the weather in the housing industry, we can monitor the weather, housing, and all aspects of our lives to ensure that we're best prepared to experience our best life, the purpose of the Personal and Professional Best program. I'm Pat Flood. Welcome. I grew up in the Sunshine State. As a result, I personally prefer the spring and summer seasons. The spring represents growth. That which died over the winter, it springs back to life. The spring season transitions then to summer, and everything in nature is peaking. All is in full bloom. Don't misunderstand. While I love and prefer the spring and summer, I appreciate the fall and winter seasons as well. They're not my favorite weather seasons, but they are beneficial in their own way. The fall represents a break from the heat of summer, and football season begins. And then the winter season arrives. Winter represents the end of the year. The days are shorter, there's less sun, the trees, the grass, and the flowers die for a moment. It's cold, but winter also reminds us to not take for granted spring and summer. It makes us look forward to it. Winter is also the time of the year to reflect and to take inventory on our lives. It's the time of the year to develop your life plan and to make plans to get better. And you can do so by visiting supremebest.com. King Solomon, considered in Scripture as the wisest man to have ever lived, described the seasons of life this way. He said, there's a season for everything in life, a season for every activity under the heavens. It's true about the weather, it's true about the housing industry, and it's true about our lives. There's a season for everything. I also personally prefer spring and summer for another reason. The 6 months that make up the spring and summer season also represent 60% of all of the housing sales that take place during the year. And that season is about to begin. While we cannot predict the weather in the housing industry this spring and summer, we do know that the weather did change in 2018 from sunny skies with little humidity to a front with a little bit of cloud and a little bit of rain. This spring and summer, the clouds will either break and the sun will come out again, amen, or the storm conditions that began to form in 2018 will continue. or worsen. In the spirit of the P&PB program, we thought it would be valuable to invite two industry leaders to share their best ideas with all of us about how to best navigate the market to achieve the best outcomes in our business lives in 2019. Let's get started with Ryan Graham. We're blessed today to have one of the top real estate professionals in the Southeast with us. In fact, the Graham Seaby Group is in the top 5 with Keller Williams in all of the Southeast United States, number 2 in the state of Georgia. And today I'm really happy to be able to introduce to personal professional best Ryan Graham. Ryan, welcome.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Yeah, listen, thank you so much for giving your time, obviously based on the numbers that you produced last year. And everybody just sit tight and hear these numbers. 291 units sold last year for $102.2 million. So obviously Ryan and Justin, his partner, and their entire team were very busy last year, but they were a little less busy than the year before. The point of bringing Ryan in today, their sales, in fact, were down a bit last year. The number of units went from 328 units in 2017 to 291 units, but their volume went up last year, of course, so that's good news. But we thought we would invite Ryan today to be able to offer some advice as the winds in our industry and weather are changing a little bit, right? From 72 and sunny from 2012 to 2017 and no humidity, to last year where, let's just say, a front came into our industry and we had a bit of stormy weather that kind of disrupted what had been from 2012 to 17, 5 years of growth. In fact, from 12 to 17, 14% increase in units during that period of time. And last year, for the first time then in 5 years, we actually had a decline of about 10% nationally in the number of units sold. So I wanted to bring Ryan in. Ryan, we have literally hundreds of realtors that are here in Atlanta and Charlotte, North Carolina, and all throughout our Florida marketplaces that are excited to hear your advice to all of them about what are the things that they can do to be their professional best. What are you and your team doing based on market conditions, and what can they do and then as well to be able to be their professional best in 2019?
Well, hey, I'm humbled to be asked to speak and to share some insights, but I'm also not afraid to tell you what's on our mind and the directions that we're heading in. And I hope this can be of help to somebody out there, or more than one person. Look, I think the core thing that we're focused on is back to basics. And we have always used that as a part of our training and coaching and leadership model, but it's really a cornerstone of what we're doing this year. And that philosophy, I think, can be pervasive. Real estate's a contact sport. Our partner, Jen Sesson, just reminded me of that expression. Just yesterday, we were talking about something, and you got to be out there, growing those relationships. And the reason that is so important in our business is it doesn't matter if you do 4 million in sales a year, 2 million in sales a year, or 200 million in sales a year. If you're not growing your relationships, your core sphere database, you're probably not growing. One of the first big activities that we did this year, so kind of my first talking point is really about budget. We dove into our expenses and we carved out a 19.6% savings in our monthly burn. And, was it essential? Yeah, it's always good to save money, but it was very important because it allowed us to strategize for Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. That savings, we're just going to put aside for a minute, but we've also lined up some projects of where we can catapult and reinvest back into the business for lead gen growth or infrastructure growth and those kind of things. So I think my first piece of advice to everybody is obviously we're a fairly large business. We do have a big budget, but I don't care if you're an individual agent, again, doing 2 million in sales, you're running a big business. There's $60,000 to $80,000 of gross commission coming through your business's pipeline. You've got expenses. You need to know what your numbers are. So if you don't have a budget, get one. And the easiest way to start with a budget, right, is just to pull out your last 3 months of credit card bills and bank statements, see what you're spending money on, put them into a spreadsheet. If you're not using QuickBooks, put it in a spreadsheet and just start adding things up and seeing where you're spending your money. And then try to save some money. Excuse me. Try to cut some costs and then pull money from where you cut it out and be strategic about how you reinvest back into your business.
Great. Great advice. So, it's interesting, Ryan. My experience is whenever we have a run like we did, we get into behavioral patterns because there's so much business, right? That is kind of not the back to basics because we're just trying to keep up with the business growth. And so then the market shifts like it just did in 2018. And oftentimes people are looking for the simple solutions, the outside solutions. They get fear and they get anxious. But it sounds to me like you guys are just turning internally and focusing on the things that you're doing behaviorally. And of course, you started out with expenses. What about in terms of contact management? What are you doing in terms of reaching out to either past customers or what's changing in terms of where you're using your time now that you have a little bit extra?
So if I can kind of pull the curtain down from where the wizard sits for a minute, I'll share with you that we were very intentional about 3 years ago to grow our non-Mets business. And for those of you outside of the Keller Williams realm, that means people we haven't met yet, people that we don't know. We were at a point where we felt like our business had plateaued, working just within our sphere. So we wanted to do some mass marketing. And we bumped our knees and skinned our knees and bumped our head along the way, but we got fairly good at it. And we got to a point where about half of our business became non-Mets and the other half was Mets. But where we sit today, non-Mets are a lot more expensive. It's a lot more expensive to market to a Met and convert them into somebody that becomes an actual client in a relationship. So what we've done is we're redirecting. We're not walking away from non-Mets. We're just being a little more strategic and detailed and focused in that area. But now we're coming back to our core database. We've always been good at touching with postcards and phone calls and handwritten note cards and doing client events and all that stuff. So none of that changes. But now it's diving in deeper. We use a CRM. This is not meant to be a plug, but it's Follow Up Boss. They're exceptional. So if anybody's looking for them, and they're scalable from a single user all the way up to the top. But most importantly, they just do a good job of organizing the data in your database so that you can look for where people live, how long they've been there, the kind of relationships they have with the different people. And why that's important is if you dive in deep enough, you can start finding some patterns and you can start realizing, okay, here's a group of homeowners that we actually haven't talked specifically about their real estate market in recent times. So let's reach out to them and let them know where the market is, let them know maybe about some school system changes, let them know about interest rate changes, and just check in. And again, these are people that we've either sold the home to them or we've been involved with the transaction somehow. So there's already something there, right? It's a good starting point. Bring them some value and see if we can't reinvigorate the relationship and potentially get listings or buyers out of that.
Yeah, I was intrigued a couple of years ago because our entire platform at Supreme is the inspiration of the company. Every single person in the company is focused on deliver the industry's best customer experience. What that looks like to us is when people want to move, they need to move on that day. And when realtors want to close, they want to close on that day to get paid. So, when I talked with you 3 years ago, I knew that we had a lot in common because your focus at that time, you had told me, was so much around, customer experience and making sure that your past customers were the kind of fans that were going to help you grow your business in the future. I talked to a lot of people that are always focusing on marketing ideas to get the next customer. Talk a little bit about your focus on the customer experience just itself and how important that is to kind of building the future.
Yeah, so my desk is perpetually a mess, and so for this, I've cleared this space so I look like I'm not a mess.
Very good today, right?
I had to dig some papers out. This right here is something we came up with at the end of last year, and it's our big why. It's the P&PB Group big why. And it's our mission statement, it's our core principles. And right there at the top, we say that our mission is to enhance the lives around us through service. The reason this was important and we worked with the team, everyone on the team participated in this brainstorming and this idea, and this is kind of where we all coalesced. I thought it was important that we all get together and start telling our story. And it's to what you're talking about from a few years ago. I've always thought it was backstory. I used to be a civil engineer, and I got burned out in that world, and it was too black and white for me. And as much as I do love numbers and spreadsheets, I also love people and I love to interact. And when I came into this business, I always said, I'm not going to be a used car salesman, right? I'm not going to be that person just chasing the next closing over and over again. I want to build relationships and I want to be a consultant. I want to provide value. So that's to tell that story, to be able to reach out through emails, through videos, through newsletters, through handwritten note cards, through contacts and real relationships, to be able to let people know not only what we do, Like, people don't really care what we do, right? They do when they need us, but outside of that small transaction, it's real estate, right? You're buying and selling houses, but they do care why we do it. And when you can tell a compelling story about why you do something and why it's important to you and why it matters in your world, that resonates with people. And so going back to our sphere conversation, our database conversation, I think it's important to always come from contribution, right? When you're reaching out to the people you know, bringing them some sort of value, be genuine, be yourself, be who you are, tell your story, be authentic with that, own it, and be bold, right? Don't be afraid. We say all the time, don't be a secret agent, right? I mean, this is the one thing that we sell is ourselves, right? People think we sell houses, and that's not true at all. We're selling ourselves, we're selling our story, we're selling our value proposition. And if you're not bold and you're not out there letting people know why you do what you do, if you're not successful, then that's your fault. It's just as simple as that. But I think people get lost in well, I don't want to be a salesperson. I don't want to be hounding my friends. No, come from contribution. Be genuine, be yourself, and focus on the people that Justin says a great thing all the time. People want to help you. Like, the people that know you, they want to help you. So if you just call and say, hey, this is what I do and this is why I do it, who do you know that I could help? Can you help me help somebody else? People they want to help you. They want to help you grow. So we feel like that's the best script, if you will.
Well, you know what? I've always thought that we have an awful lot as businesses in common because we feel the same way. We feel like if we put others in front of ourselves intentionally, deliberately, and they experience that, everybody's in sales. Every company in America, every single individual is responsible to rep their company, because even if you're not selling something out on the street, right? Your company is selling something, and the more they sell, the more opportunity, the more income you have the potential to earn, et cetera. So, but every time I experience you, when I hear come from contribution, I thought about this morning and you giving your time to the hundreds of people that are here. The people that I've met along the way in my journey that are the very best at everything, they operate from a place of generosity and abundance, and they don't operate from scarcity and selfishness. And I think that's what I just heard. And when you're intentional in putting the customer experience as the first and foremost issue, people sense that, both the processes that are in place, but they also sense the spirit by which you're delivering your services. And what we have found, and I know you do as well, that people, listen, they don't want to give their money away. They want to pay for something of value, and they want to feel like the person that was delivering the service was prepared to do so and cared to do so. So sounds like you guys are on that. I want to shift real quickly, right? One of the things that has been kind of a part of the market for the last 5 years is that sellers, my God, you didn't even have to put your house up to sale. If people heard that it was coming up for sale, there'd be people waiting. Then when it get listed, you might get one offer or multiple offers, right? It might be at the list price, which would be great, or it might have gone past list. We've seen that happen. 2018, the slowdown, the mindset of sellers. How do you and your team, basics, how do you change the conversation, the script, if you will, now with sellers when you're going to list? Because you want to be competitive, you want to get the listing, but how do you have a real dialogue about the conditions of the market? Talk to us a little bit about that, if you would.
So I'll go back to something I said earlier. I've always wanted to be a consultant, and I'm a cards face up kind of poker player. When I go in to sit down with somebody, I'm going to tell them, and I tell them that. I say, look, you're not going to get any smoke and mirrors with me. I'm not going to try to tell you what I think you want to hear so that you hire me. I'm going to tell you what I think is going on in the market right now. I'm going to give you my best attempt at interpreting how you play into it, how you fit into it. Then I'm going to give you the strategies I think are going to set you up for success. And the things I say might not always make you happy, but I can promise you they'll always be the truth, or at least it'll be what I feel in my heart is the right thing to do in the situation. So I think again, going back to being genuine, if you start from that point, it kind of takes the guard down. I will also tell people that I strongly believe the general public is about 18 months behind the reality of what the current real estate market is. And I think the reason that is most of the general public's information comes from national media sources, and there seems to be a lag time there. Or it's that most of their information is from the war stories of their friends and family who have done real estate transactions over the past 18 months. And so the best example of that I can give is back in 2013, 14, and even some of 15, as we walked into listing appointments, sellers were saying, oh my gosh, my house is worth that much. It's going to sell that fast. This is insane, right? To us, that was the new normal, but to them, they had no clue. And so now fast forward to 2018, we're walking in and saying, you know what, it might take 60 days to sell your house. I mean, we're averaging less, obviously, but it could take longer. Wait, no, it's going to sell in 0 days for 110% of list price, and I'll have 3 backup offers. No, it's not. That happens, yes, on a rare occasion, but you know, that can be a hard pill to swallow because it's changing their expectation pretty radically. But again, when you're just genuine, honest, and open, you got to have some data, you got to have some facts behind what you're saying to kind of prove your point. But when they understand that you're looking out for their best interest, that you honor that fiduciary obligation you're trying to earn for them, it starts to sink in over time, and then they let you be their guide.
Yeah, if you're well prepared, you don't have to operate out of fear. You can use the facts to help tell the story. And ultimately, I think people, listen, if they're ready to move and they want to move, they need to know the truth because the market will ultimately reveal the truth, right? So that conversation, I just know that the trend line of news information, as you put it, has shifted in the market, maybe not yet reported by the news. And so, you know, people that are listing their houses today, they're in a different position than those that listed last year and the year before and the year before. The other side of that, obviously, is when you go out to be a buyer today, it's a little bit better to be a buyer. Maybe the terms as a buyer will be better. And I've always told people that you don't get it on both sides, right? If you're listing and it's really good time to sell, you're a buyer then right afterwards normally, and then the buying conditions reflect what you just experienced as a seller. So good stuff. So listen, I can't tell you how much we appreciate having you here today. Here's what I heard. I heard you can't control the market, so focus on everything that you can control. Take a good long look at your expenses and make sure you're being efficient, only spending on what makes sense to spend on, and cut things that are unnecessary or can be cut. I heard you say that you're going back to focusing on your Met business or the folks that you know, and making sure you're really digging in deep with that crowd that can really bear fruit and influence for you. That you're going to continue to focus and tell everyone to operate with the idea of contribution with all of the people, all of your constituents, all those folks that are in your influence, your why, if you will. And it's important because a lot of folks that are here today haven't necessarily identified their why yet. And I think that's really critical, right? To get that tip of the spear for us, deliver the industry's best experience, you know, similar, and operate out of contribution. And then be a consultant with your sellers and tell them just straight up the best you know with facts about the market. Anything else you want to share with us? One more, nugget of wisdom that you have for us before we let you go today?
Yes. Find balance in your life. I think that is the most critical component of all of this. We tend to get super, super focused on our businesses, especially the type Ds, the type A's, the high Ds in the room. It's real easy to burn out. You run a race car on the red, for all 500 laps or whatever it may be, you're going to blow your engine. One of the most important things for me as a professional was about 5 years ago when we were starting out. A coach we were working with forced me to take 1 day a week off. He said, I don't care what day it is, you pick it, take it off, no questions asked. And that happened to be football season. I'm a Falcons fan, so I picked Sunday. And that was the starting point for me finding real balance in my work life. Now I dedicate hard start and stop times to work and to my family. Everybody has that ability, and it's amazing how much energy that brings back when you're doing something for yourself, for the loved ones around you, and then for the community around you. It creates the balance that you'll need. Without that, you burn out. You'll get a good 6 months into the year, and then the rest of the year is a mess. But when you find that balance, you can work every day, every year, ongoing. So that's probably the most important cherry to put on top of all of this.
Well, what's great is the program that we run here at Supreme every month that you're on here today is Personal and Professional Best. And we encourage everyone that is in the audience today and all of our associates to focus on balance, family and relationships, making sure you're investing, health and fitness, making sure you're staying in shape, personal finance, you talked about expense, fun and recreation, giving back into the community, and finally in business today. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate you today giving away some trade secrets about how you think about being your best and your team's best this year. And again, I just want to remind everyone that's here today, if you operate out of abundance, generosity, contribution, that is always thinking about what you can do for others. you wind up really kind of bringing out your best. Others experience that. Or you can operate out of worry, fear, anxiety, and scarcity and being selfish. Ryan wouldn't be here today if he operated that way, and he also would not have sold just under 300 homes last year and 100 million. So I'm going to ask all of you to be in the spirit of generosity back with the Graham Stevie team is intentionally, if you've got a buyer here in Atlanta, intentionally look for the Graham Stevie listings and signs, and then bring your customers there and sell Graham Stevie's houses so they can have their very best year. Hey, Ryan, thank you so much for sharing today, and we wish you the very best professionally in 2019, personally as well. Thanks for being a part of our show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, here we go. We're continuing our program today. I'm so happy that we have this guest. So now we're going to have a flavor from one of our other major marketplaces, South Florida. We have Alan Waxman, who's the operating partner at Keller Williams, Coral Springs, Fort Lauderdale, and recently acquired Aventura, Florida. Alan's career spans 24 years in our industry. First 8 selling, so he knows exactly what all of you do every single day, and know he's a hands-on coach. He's also then spent the balance of his career in ownership and leadership in the industry. Currently, Alan's responsible for 800 souls that are real estate agents, and annually about $500 million of real estate transactions. And we're so happy to have Alan as our special guest today on our Personal Professional Best program. Alan, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me, Pat. It's my pleasure. My honor. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. So, Alan, listen, 2012, 2017, is one of the best periods we've had in real estate. Kind of the weather, 72 degrees, no humidity, great sun. 2018, a year of transition, right? So we saw front come in, change the conditions in the marketplace. And so what we want to do today is we want you as an expert in the industry, a voice of leadership, to offer to the folks that are here today. There's hundreds from South Florida all the way up to Charlotte, North Carolina, who'd love to hear you tell them your advice on the things they can do individually in 2019 that would allow them to become their professional best. So go ahead, Alan. Tell us what you'd have them do.
Thanks, Pat. In a short period of time, I would drill it down to the 3 or 4 things I'm going to share. The first thing is, everybody who knows anything about success conditioning knows that 90% of all success is mindset. Not just your mindset, your client's mindset. So the first thing you need to do is understand that the market is shifting and that there's a lag time. And because there's a lag time, agents, your sellers and buyers are not aware as much as you are. So the first thing you need to do is get real and get right in your mind that you need a shift, and you need to be able to communicate that with your sellers and buyers. And here's how you do it. First, by being into self-mastery, not mastering just the subject of real estate, but mastering yourself. And the way you do that is by being learning-based. And I would tell you, if you don't have a coach, get a coach. And if you have a coach, call your coach and tell them to be more difficult on you. That would be the first thing I would do, Pat.
I love that concept, mindset, because, oftentimes when markets shift from really, really good to, let's face it, it's not perfect, but it's a good market still right now, right? But even that shift, it kind of creates this fear, anxiety, right, uncertainty. And so mindset, like our own, and lean in then is what I'm hearing you say about get your mindset right and lean in and get even more educated, more informed, better information, more accountability from a coach so that you wind up honing and sharpening your professional skills at this point so you're more valuable to your buyers and sellers. Great piece of advice. Where are you going next, Alan? What else would you tell the professionals that are here that they should be doing if they want to be their best in 2019?
So the second thing we tell our agents, and any great coach would tell their agents, is you've got to lead generate and lead follow-up a minimum of 3 hours each day. And if you do that 5 days a week, we know that that will lead to the conversion of getting appointments and appointments to the table. Understand this, when the market shifts, there are less motivated buyers and sellers because the sellers think their house is worth more, and the buyers don't understand the value in making the offers at the right price. So you're going to have to lead generate for the lead conversion. And how you do that is you must find the motivated. And the way you find the motivated is by doing a great needs analysis. Understand that the use of the phone is just to get the appointment, and know when you go on the appointment what their motivation is, so you can get the lead that is motivated to actually list their property and or buy a property. Lead conversion is the next thing that I would hit home on, and we teach every day here in the Market Center. The way you focus on lead conversion and not just lead generation is through motivation. Testing for motivation. I know I said it once before, I can't say it enough. Don't waste your time with buyers who don't understand the market and think that they're not going to write an offer today because next week and the week after, Pat, the house is going to be worth less. And certainly don't waste your time with sellers who don't understand that today is the day they're going to get the most for their house, and next month, because they want to try it at a price this month and they want to reduce the price next month, it's going to be worth less already. So lead generate 3 hours a day, lead generate for the motivated, get to the table, understand that conversion is more important today than lead generation.
Yeah, so if you have the right mindset, now we're talking about tactically focusing on your calendar, right? We all have the same amount of minutes, hours, days in a week, but we need to be disciplined enough, something that most salespeople don't necessarily do, right? To block their calendar out so that they can plant seeds, right? That's what we're talking about. Doing lead gen is about planting seeds like good farmers do, right? We have to do the seed planting, the lead generating, if we're going to wind up creating opportunities. And then what I hear you saying as well, which we oftentimes talk to our folks about, is make sure you're distilling down the people you're talking to so that you're investing your time with people that it can actually benefit, right? People that really want to sell homes instead of people who want to list them and may not sell them because they just don't want to be realistic about price, and buyers who really want to buy homes. Not that we shouldn't provide a service and maybe down the road something's going to happen, but we need to make sure that we're taking the time to lead gen and that we're also focusing and investing with the right people. Where are we going next? What do you got number 3 for me?
Great. To that point, Pat, you led me right into point number 3. It almost seems like we did this before. You led me right into point number 3, which is critical. And that's seller pricing strategies. And the way we teach seller pricing strategies, Pat, you visited us last week. You had an opportunity to be present last week. We do quarterly statistics, so we are up to the minute with the exact market statistics. We arm our agents with the statistics that help them get the listings at the right price. See, here's what we know. What we know is emotion makes people act, right? They go into a car dealership and they see this beautiful car, and the car salesperson says, get in the car. Because that car salesperson knows once they get in the car, they're going to sit down and they're going to feel the steering wheel and they're going to look at the console and they're going to imagine themselves in that car. The second thing the salesman knows is once he's got you emotionally, he's got you. We know that in our business, more important than the emotion in a market, when the market is shifting, is logic. And the way you share logic with your client is not by telling them, is by showing them. So what we do, Pat, is we have quarterly statistics, quarterly meaning 4 times a year. We trail the statistics so it's up to the moment. And we are sharing with our agents micro statistics. The challenge today in the industry, Pat, is when they turn on national news, I don't care what news station they look at or they watch, when they turn on national news or they turn on their iPad or a client turns on their technology one way, shape, or another, they're looking at macro statistics. It's like saying that today the weather's 72 and sunny everywhere in the United States, and we know that's not true. Some places it's freezing, in other places it's warm. Well, our statistics are the local market statistics, the micro statistics. So we teach them how to be civil. We teach them how to be humane. We teach them how to understand that the client doesn't know that their house is depreciating in value from the last sale in their neighborhood. And we teach them how to be on the same team as the seller by showing and not telling.
Yeah, I was down.
They're brilliant. They're brilliant.
I was down at your recent program, and and have been in that stats program in the past, it's one of the great tools really that you offer to your constituents, your agents, because if, I've always said, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a realtor, if you're buying a professional service, my expectation is I want people to be well informed as consultants so that they can give me the very best advice. And you just recently equipped your folks with the truth about the marketplace, because it's not what we want the market to be, it's what the truth of the market really is with buyers and sellers. And I applaud you guys, because the amount of data that you offered provided every one of your agents with the opportunity to be much better informed so that they can provide their consulting services. And let's face it, that protects commissions as well, right? Because when we really value someone as a professional consultant, then it's okay to pay the premium to that person, because the reality of it is that they're worth it, right? We could get another service professional with less information and we'll lose money elsewhere. So what I hear is get the right mindset, make sure that the weather shift. Look, the good news is when we get great weather and it's followed by a trough, which we probably are in right now, right? The weather will clear again, right? So in the meantime, we can get better by keeping the mindset right, making sure that we're giving information to our buyers and sellers. We take the time to discipline our schedules so that we really do all the work to plant the seeds. And then we're mindful with data and drive data into seller pricing. So when we list houses, we actually get them under contract and sold, because we're being realistic. We're not telling people what they want to hear, but what they need to hear, actually take action. What else you got for us, Alan?
I'd end with this, Pat. I would end with something every salesperson knows, and sometimes we forget. And it's that people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. And it takes time for people to know how much you care. Depending on your skill set, some can do that in a half hour. Others, it takes days, sometimes weeks. But understand that you are working with somebody, and that the quicker you can get them to see that you are on their side and are sharing with them what they need to hear, not necessarily sometimes what they want to hear. And you can get those two coasts together to be like a yin and a yang, magic happens.
Outstanding.
And
you know what?
One correction, Pat. We found out the micro weather here is 800 million, not 500 million.
Got it. Yeah, our business has gone up already. I love it. Just because of this, the advice that you're giving today, already we got our business up $300 million in the last 15 minutes or 10 minutes. Hey, what you just said, Alan, is at the core of our mission as an organization, serve others before self. And you're being on the show today. Listen, people either operate out of scarcity and about selfish, or they operate out of this concept of abundance and generosity and contribution. And what you just gave advice to all of us, right, is that when people, we have to know our business, but if they don't feel our heart, if they don't know that we genuinely, really care about them, then they'll find someone else to do business. So when we lead with generosity, and when we lead with abundance and contribution, how can we live our lives in the service of others? That is the secret ingredient, right? And so I love all of the advice that you've given today. And I know that the hundreds of folks that are listening and watching today are taking notes. And I know that it'll give them encouragement as they think about how they're going to create the very best professional outcomes for themselves in 2019. Alan, one of the ways that the folks in South Florida, the other realtors that are watching that are not part of your group, one of the ways that they can be generous, bring contribution back, is to make sure that when they look for listings for their buyers right now to go kind of take a look at and potentially put contracts, that they would pay particular attention to Keller Williams, Coral Springs, Keller Williams, Fort Lauderdale, and Aventura, because your time today was very valuable to me and all of them. The way they could show it reciprocity, put some contracts in on Alan's properties. Anyway, thank you so much.
And I would also tell the same agents that are listening, Pat, that your business is only as good as those people that you're in business with. You can be the greatest real estate sales professional in the world, and you need to have the same partners that are equally as committed to their business. And I will tell everybody out there, that if you are not giving Supreme an opportunity to earn your buyer's business, you're missing the boat. Thanks for being in business with us, Pat. You, Bobby, Jim, your whole company, you guys rock.
Thanks so much, Alan. Hey, best of luck to you and to your entire organization 2019. We'll catch up soon.
Let's crush it.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you, Ryan, for being generous with your time and with your wisdom. Today we talked about seasons, the weather seasons and the seasons in the housing market. Let's finish by talking about the seasons of life. Similar to the weather and the housing market, we all experience seasons in our lives. Some of these seasons will be like spring and summer, periods marked by growth, when life has brilliant colors and everything is warm and rich. We'll also experience seasons like fall and winter. These seasons are natural and unavoidable. They're darker, colder, and can even be bitter at times. Some of you may be in that season right now. While spring and summer can't last forever, we can extend these seasons and shorten the fall and winter seasons of our lives. That is the purpose of our personal and professional best program, to extend the rich seasons of life and reduce the darker seasons of life. In order to do this, you'll need a life plan for every area of your life, for family and relationships, for health and fitness, for personal finance, for fun and recreation, for faith and community service, and for business growth. A specific life plan offers you a clear path to ensure that you make the best choices in life so that the best seasons of your life will last the longest. A life plan also ensures that you don't experience unnecessary storms along the way. To help you create a life plan that will ensure you are prepared for whatever may come your way, we've created a brand new life planning system that will help you reach your goals and become your best in 2019. The platform is called Best GPS, and you can sign up and get started today by visiting supremebest.com and clicking on Best GPS. The platform works just like a navigation system. You start by assessing where you currently are in your life. Then you determine your best target destination in each category of your life. Next, you create a route to best that outlines the specific paths you will take to reach your goals. And finally, you'll identify a voice of accountability, a trusted friend who will help you along the way and reroute you if you find yourself off course. We hope and pray that you'll join us on our journey to best in 2019. Your best season is waiting for you, and we look forward to meeting you there. Smart is next. Let's have some fun and make the world a better place.